Hi, I'm Max Horseman. This is Trident Talks. I'm a principal consultant here, and I'm joined by Sandy Kronenberg, CEO and founder of deepfake and disinformation detection vendor Netarx. How are you, Sandy?
Very good, very good. Thanks for having me.
Good man. No problem. Sandy and I first met at RSA at an event hosted by Dream Adventures. It was good fun, and we got talking. I really believed in Netarx's mission. It's taken us a while to get together and get this recorded, but I'm really excited to have you on board today and to discuss the journey. So Sandy, I think it's a good opportunity for you to talk through what Netarx is and almost why you founded the company.
For sure. So, to rewind a little bit into my past, I've started an IT services business a number of years ago and exited that to a British firm known as Data Tech, and got into venture capital and invested in lots of different organizations. Then got into private equity, and while I was running a private equity firm, it was about 2.5 years ago. I was at lunch with a mid-market lender, and he picks up his phone, and I could see all the blood rush out of his face. And I'm like, Pat, are you okay? And he says to me, we just were victim of wire transfer fraud. And so I asked him to explain, and it was essentially a social engineering attack where they convinced his people to change the wire transfer information, the banking information. And that was the third such incident of an associate in the previous few weeks. And I noticed that even when we were doing our financial closings, that we were having some weird communication happen right at the opportune times for the bad actors to make some changes to our own information to then realize, hey, look, I think this is something I can help with my technology background, and I've written a number of patents before, and I've monetized those patents by either litigating and or selling these patents. And I was like, wait a second, I think there's something here. So I reached out to my old HR director's good friend, and I said, I'm going to be looking for a chief technology officer. And so that started our journey where we built Netarx and our product known as the Flurp to help identify deepfake attacks, social engineering, impersonation attempts in many organizations.
Awesome. And obviously it's a valuable proposition. Clearly wire fraud and fraud in general is on the up all the time, right? There's so many stats out there about it. But where are existing kind of solutions falling short? Where did you kind of see a gap there?
Well, the truth of the matter is we all have a digital footprint, and that digital footprint is aggregated from a multitude of different sources of communication. And unfortunately, I don't see anything that's addressing all forms of communication, meaning you can't operate in a silo and just look at your email or look at a video call such as this, a Teams or a Meet or a Zoom. You can't just look at a text message or a phone call. You literally need to have complete awareness of all forms of communication. And so those digital footprints or digital signatures or signals, we're ingesting all of them. And we run all of those digital signals into a number of AI models. So we have a voice model, a video model, third-party models, email models, and all of those models roll up into what we refer to as a voting ensemble in order to output on screen a visual indication of threat. And so that visual indication of threat is what we call the Flurp, and it's a traffic light, red, yellow, green, right on screen. And you right now are showing up as green to me because I've communicated with you back and forth via email, via Then we put in a calendar. We've been on video calls together. But if you were new to me, it would maybe show up as Amber, and or if there was any AI inference detected that there was a deep fake, for instance, that you were running any number of free software like a Deep Live Cam or Expressions or Magic Cam or Deep Swap. There's dozens of tools out there that people can use. Our FLIRP would immediately turn red. And so that's just one of 75 different digital signals that we are interpreting and rolling up into features that then participates as part of that voting ensemble. And we've got a lot of patents around all of those different ways in which we do those things.
Awesome. I love that. And obviously, just in terms of where you are as a business and kind of what you've achieved so far, I'd love to hear some more about some of the kind of key milestones.
Yeah, so, excuse me. So we've reached general availability. You know, we started the business about 2.5 years ago, and early last year had a number of design partners, organizations that were in finance and other high risk type of organizations that were willing to be early adopters. And now we have a multitude of MSPs who've signed up and who have implemented our platform in their own environments and are now rolling it out to their clients, as well as some large enterprises that are using the FLIRP on many of their users' desktops, laptops. It seems like there's like a few really key departments that most organizations are looking at, and so it's kind of like, you know, the trust operations are very much an overlay to, you know, business ops or marketing or HR. And so what we're seeing is, you know, the HR directors are definitely afraid of hiring a North Korean bad actor. The CMO is afraid of, you know, their brand being obliterated by some fake image posted on social media, so we can solve and help for that. And then the CISOs, you know, there's just a whole lot of regulations that are coming and being put in place that they need to comply with. And then lastly, we've got just financial departments are, you know, looking to protect approvals of transactions and or executive approvals or executive communication. And so we're protecting for all of that.
Yeah, well, I think the different use cases all make sense. In terms of like where the market's headed, this is a market that's evolving so quickly. Like, where do you see the space kind of going in the future, and kind of how is your kind of roadmap at addressing that?
You know, so great question. And what we're seeing in the future is that people just are at a point where they can't trust anything on their screens.
Yeah.
And you know, it's kind of a weird world where, you know, you're just like, you see someone face to face, you shake their hand, and you immediately have that recognition, and you know that person, so that the next time you see them in the street, you wave and you say hello. We're at a point where, you know, you can't trust anything. And so you ask, you know, where is it that existing solutions fall down? And most of them, I kind of feel like are addressing layers 1 through 7, you know, like the OSI 7-layer model. And the real problem is we're addressing a huge gap. And that gap is the fact that this is the 8th layer. This is the human layer. And so if people are inherently trusting, just like when you walk down the street and you shake hands and you see them, they immediately default to trusting as opposed to not trusting. And so what happens? Well, a lot of people go through security awareness training, and that security awareness training is now trying to teach people to not be so trusting of everything, but now that's an impact to productivity, right? And so I think it was Proofpoint who put out an article a few years ago, where the average person spends upwards of 45 minutes now on an average week making sure that the email and that this click, or that this email was actually sent to the right person, or from the right person. And so, you ask, all right, well, where do I see everything going? It's we've got to restore that faith and that trust, and we have the technology and the roadmap to do that.
It's awesome. And in terms of like kind of the next steps and expansion, are you kind of just selling into the US right now? Like what's the kind of situation there?
Yeah, so we have actually a number of resellers in EMEA, as well as Latin America, that have signed up in addition to the States, and so we're excited in the fact that it's not just a local problem; it's a global problem, and there are very few solutions out there. There's a lot of companies that are entering the space, but we don't feel that they're addressing the complete picture. And what I mean by that is, again, it's a multimodal problem, and you have to tackle all of the modalities in order to provide value. And they're seeing it across the planet. It's quite honestly amazing, just all of the different stories that we hear. We call them fact patterns. And these fact patterns, the more we talk to MSPs and enterprises across the world, we're amazed at just how creative the bad guys really are.
I love that. And out of interest, how do you kind of demonstrate value to a buyer? Like, I'm quite interested as to how you showcase the product.
Well, great question. And so there's a couple different things. So the first thing that we often do is we have a deepfake on the call,
Yeah, I thought that might be it.
yeah, I mean, it's so easy when everyone's, you're just talking for a couple of minutes and showing the product in terms of, like, your PowerPoint presentation. And while I'm already sharing my screen, I say, hey, let me show you what I actually see in this Teams or Meet or Zoom or WebEx. And so they can see the flurp on my screen, and it's dancing red. And I'm like, well, why is it red? And so I click on it and I show, well, you're yellow because you're new to me, because it's contextual. But who's this red guy? And it's usually a sales engineer that we add to the call. And one of our sales engineers or account executives will be some famous person, or maybe not so famous that it's not like Taylor Swift where everyone recognizes, but it'll be someone else. And they're like, oh my gosh, when you click, and then they reveal who they really are, and that they've been talking to them for the last 5 or 10 minutes. And so then they're like, wait a second, can you turn that back on again? And so they'll switch it on and off, and understand how our technology works. But the thing, though, is, look, there's a lot of companies that are offering now an ability to detect if it's real or fake on a video stream. But the way in which to do so is extraordinarily complicated and extraordinarily nuanced with how to make sure you don't have false positives, because there's a lot of organizations that have a lot of false positives or false negatives. We've spent the better part of this last year making sure that we have dramatically few of those, and so the way we offer it to many organizations is a free assessment where, hey, look, install it, start using it, and see the value that it can provide your own organization. And especially that trust operations, those 4 key areas where it can help your user population.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm still just thinking back to Ryan Gosling as a sales engineer or something. That would be pretty epic.
Quite honestly.
I hope I'm not sharing anything that I shouldn't, but I understand you're in the process of fundraising as well. So I'd love to showcase that and talk about what you feel the impending A round will unlock, and almost give you an opportunity to talk about that.
Yeah, so it accelerates for us an ability to cover in earnest those different markets around the world and allow us to have footprint there to provide that kind of support. We've tried to make it super easy for people. It's a traffic light, right? Red, yellow, green, right on their desktop. But it's a big shift. It's a big change, and you need to hold people's hands with that. Why, right? Well, because it's the first time that you have security on your desktop. Now, if you think about that, that's a big shift, right? Where else do you have any sort of user interaction with a security tool other than like a username, password, or maybe typing in a 6-digit token code on your phone, right? So the Flurp being an agent that we install on a desktop, or in some instances, people are just using the extension in a browser. But the point though is you need to walk end users through, and the rollout of that is nuanced, and you need to make sure that you're highly communicative, and so that people understand this is something that helps restore trust. And it's very different than, even though it's a traffic light, and the traffic light's pretty much understood worldwide, red, yellow, green, it still needs to have hand holding. And that's what we're doing, is we're accelerating our ability to hand hold around the world. And so that's why we're raising a Series A.
Okay. And that all makes sense. Why is the timing right now? Like, effectively, if you hit a point of inflection where you're like, yeah, why now, I guess?
Great question. So, look, we now have the protection in the fact that, we've got a half a dozen patents, and, the regulatory environment, there's so many different rules and regulations being put in place for responsible use of AI. But it really comes down to, I hate to use the expression, winter is coming, but, if you're a Game of Thrones fan, it's bad. Like, it is
not the last
so
season.
bad. Not the very last few episodes. We agree. But quite honestly, it's just amazing. So I'll give you an example. So in the United States, MGM, for instance, had an outage due to a social engineering attack that escalated from a low-level access into eventually a ransomware attack that shut down the entire casino floor and hotel rooms. It was $150 million impact. Last summer, Ascension Healthcare, there was 10x. It was 1.5 billion, with 150 hospitals being impacted, and many surgeries being delayed, and or doctors reducing EMR to paper, right? And so you had a situation where it's becoming so commonplace now that these impacts are something that's so severe. We've got organizations that are literally losing millions of dollars a month. They know exactly the attack vector, and they still can't stop it, because each incident is happening where it's a few $100,000 of impact each. And they can't get the FBI to get involved unless it's over $1 million, because there's so many different organizations and people that are doing this. And so what we're reaching is a point where we think that there's going to be another 10x incident this year. And so in 2026, there's going to be something that's so monumental. I almost look at it like that COVID Zoom moment, right? Like, Zoom wasn't a huge entity before COVID, but it grew dramatically, the use of that product. And so we're seeing, we're expecting that kind of, COVID Zoom moment this in the next year or so.
Awesome. And are you able to share anything in terms of the specifics you're looking for from an investor, or the kind of funding that you're trying to raise?
Yeah, of course, like anything else, a strategic partner who helps give credibility scale and large organizations. But look, we're already blessed to have been installed in the largest of resellers, VARs, MSPs, some of the largest in the world. Quite honestly, we're very pleased with our traction and distribution channel already. But that kind of validation from a lead investor is always helpful, right?
Excellent. And I just want to give you a chance to plug yourself at Netarx. If people are interested in learning more, what's the best way for them to get in touch?
Well, so ask for a demo, right? So right on our webpage, netarx.com, that's netarx.com, and there's a download link, so /download. But right on the homepage, there's a demo link that our team is happy to walk anyone through a 30-minute demo and explain how the free assessment works, and they can use the product and truly understand the value for themselves. Because quite honestly, 99% of organizations have literally nothing in place for voice and video right now.
Understood. And appreciate we're fast approaching Christmas, but have you got any events that are upcoming you'll be at?
Yeah, so we're probably the closest is on the flip side, where we're going to be in Vegas at Right of Boom. It's a fantastic show with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of MSPs. It's our home, if you will. Andrew Morgan, who runs that, is a great friend and advisor, and his group has been fantastic with making introductions to lots and lots of MSPs, and that show is a great place to revisit folks and help them understand all the new features and functionality that's coming, and to get a sense of what they need, the specific challenges that many MSPs have. Quite honestly, security technologies need to be seamless and easy, because otherwise people don't use them. And so that's why the MSPs are really helpful. I think the numbers are like 40,000 MSPs in the United States and about 300,000 MSPs worldwide. And it's just amazing the number of organizations that lean on that. I think it's like 60 or 70% of organizations worldwide lean on MSPs to help them with at least either partially managed or fully managed. And with a security technology like this, we can't scale as well and handhold all of those folks, and so we lean on a lot of that channel, if you will, to help roll it out to a lot of organizations with their salespeople and or SEs in the dirt, right?
Of course. Sandy, I think we're at the end of our time, so I really appreciate the insight that you've shared and the vision that you have. I think it's such a valuable, an important problem that you're solving. So yeah, I really appreciate you talking me through that, and it's been a pleasure getting to learn more about it. I'm sure the audience will agree. And yeah, I'll let you go, but thanks for joining.
Thank you much, Max. Always great talking with you.